Hey, thanks for tuning in to the BIC Life Podcast. Today, we're diving into the topic of AI-generated worship music. That's right. You heard me right. People are now using AI to help them write worship songs that are actually being used in churches. So what do we think about that? Is this just the latest helpful tool for the church, or are there potential dangers that we need to consider? Well, in this episode, you're going to hear two examples of AI worship songs, what we think about them, and whether or not we should consider using them. So let's get into it.
Hey everybody, welcome to the BIC Life Podcast for this month. So glad you could join us. My name is Ryan Stockton, and I'm joined as usual by my partner in crime, Scott McFeet. How you doing, man?
Hey, pretty good today. How you doing?
Doing good.
Nice.
Really excited for today's conversation. It's always fun talking AI. I'm also really excited because today's guest, Dwight Thomas, was a professor of mine back in college, probably years ago. So Dwight, thank you so much for making the time and joining us for today. Could you take just a minute to introduce yourself to us, to those who are listening or watching? Let us know what we need to know about Dwight Thomas here.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me. Nice to be with both of you. I'm a cradle BIC. Born into a BIC family, although my family doesn't go that far back in the denomination. But grew up in Indiana and then lived in Ohio and then came to Messiah College, got married, and got my degree in music. Went on to get a master's degree in composition and then finally a doctorate in ethnomusicology. And my focus throughout has been Christian music and how it fits into our lives. It's culture, the culture of what we do. Technology has been a long interest of mine, way before the modern era. I made my first synthesizer, built it from scratch. It was monophonic at the time. At any rate, technology has been a long-standing interest of mine from the 1960s, and in the late 60s was heavily involved and still through my entire career in Christian music of different sorts. Most particularly in the early phase, what we at the time called Christian folk in the Brethren of Christ Church at the time. It wasn't, rock was not in, so we weren't doing the West Coast rock kind of stuff. But we could get away with guitars, and so
how about drums?
No, drums were not okay, and in fact, we were scolded for using a tambourine.
Oh man.
Oh, okay.
But, we did what we could. In short, a long engagement with technology, but also a long engagement with the history of contemporary Christian music. And so at the front end of CCM, what we would now consider contemporary worship. And more recently, and really in the course of my academic work, just thinking about who we are as brethren in Christ, what we've done, especially in the area of arts and music. Heavily, because of my ethnomusicology, heavily involved overseas as well. But in terms of North America, our art making, our music making, how we feel about it, and then more recently, technology. Ryan talked about some of the work that I've done recently, and currently I'm working on a study of technology among the BIC. And so AI is part of that. That AI is, it's the newest of the technologies, if you will. and we've had a pattern of the way we've dealt with that. So that's who I am. I'm married. Met my wife at Messiah. We have a son who is also in education. Uh, um, that's about who I am.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember. So I had Dwight. I had you for ethnomusicology back
Right.
at Messiah, and that was such a fascinating class. We listened to some wild music, man. That was a fascinating class. So I really appreciated that.
Oh man.
All right.
I'll be interested to hear at some point in the conversation what has been the pattern in the BIC, like accepting like technology and music. That would be interesting. But I don't
You
want to
call it out.
digress too much.
Yeah, you call it out, and whenever you want it, you got it.
All right. All right.
Cool. Well, hey, sounds like you're the right guy to talk to about some of this stuff here. So, Scott, actually, you brought up this topic to me the other day. Now we have talked about
Yeah.
AI before on this episode. We've toyed with AI. We had a whole episode on like the ethics of AI a little
Yeah.
bit. I think our views have changed and morphed and moved as we have gained exposure to AI more and more over time, and its uses, its pitfalls, its dangers, its pros, all these kinds of things. So we felt like we wanted to revisit it again, but not just revisit AI like in general, but Scott, you had somebody approach you a little while back at church with a kind of a specific question. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I think it was over the Christmas break or Christmas time. A couple of my young guys at church came up to me. They're brothers, and they shout out to the Fiddler brothers. They wanted to know, what's the deal with AI worship music? And I was like, what are you even talking about? They said, well, this has been a big topic lately in some of the podcasts they're listening to, that there are people generating worship music using AI tools so that they can, then use that in church. And they're like, well, what are your thoughts on that? Because they didn't quite know what to think. And so I pointed them to our AI podcast episode. They were very interested in listening to that. But man, yeah, that kind of got my wheels turning.
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you texted me about it, and you're
Yeah.
like, "Have you like checked this out or whatever?" Like, no, I haven't. But you were then talking about like like just doing it, just have AI make a worship song, and
Yeah.
see how it goes.
Yeah, I thought it'd be fun for this podcast to just let AI do its thing. So I went to ChatGPT. That's what I use, and I have all my sermons from the current sermon series uploaded into a project folder in ChatGPT. And so the sermon series is called "Seeking God's Kingdom," and we're going through 1st and 2nd Samuel, just slowly. And I just said to ChatGPT, I said, "Hey, take a look at my sermons. What are some of the themes that are coming out that you notice?" And one of them was "The Lord is near." And I said, "That's actually pretty cool. Can you write me a song called 'The Lord is Near,' but use my sermon manuscripts for inspiration as well as scripture?" So I created this prompt, which had those words in it. I told it, I don't know. I think I told it I wanted it like 60 beats per minute. I want it to be prayerful. I want it to be simple, something easy enough to sing in a worship setting at church. I said, as far as like, I play drums, but I can't tell it like, oh, play it in this key or do, that kind of modulation or whatever. I have no idea. But I said, I still had "O Come, Emmanuel" in my head. And I was like, yeah, you know what? Write something like that. That's prayerful. That's like just really meaningful, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so it spit something out at me, and I was like, actually, that's not bad. I tweaked a couple of the words, and then I said, can you take these lyrics and then spit it back out to me with chords, so a guitar player or a piano player would know what to do with it. So it did that too. Yeah. And then the idea was I would just get someone in my congregation to just play it and record it, but that never happened.
Did they know what kind of melody the lines were going to have, or like how?
No, I hadn't thought of that. So yeah, they would have had to just come up with a melody. Because it was pretty simple. It was like, here's a line, and then it had like a chord here and a chord here. So
yeah, pretty standard chord sheet that we might work off of.
Right.
Or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, and as a drummer, I'm like, well, I can't do this. So, hopefully someone can, but unfortunately that never happened. So literally yesterday, you and I were talking, going back and forth, like, and you had the idea of like, well, is there an AI program that could just take your lyrics and create a fully produced song? I'm like, I don't know. So, quick Google search, about 5 minutes later, I had a fully fledged song with those lyrics, following those chord structures and everything. So that's what I have for you today. That's one of two songs that I have for you today.
Yeah. All right, so Scott has it for us. Dwight, you and I are going to be listening to this song in real time. This is the first time we've heard it. Scott, obviously you've heard it because you had it generated. So we're going to take a minute and we're just going to listen to this song. We don't have to worry about copyrights or anything like that. We can play the full song during the episode. How long is it?
Well, it's just under 4.5 minutes.
Okay.
So,
all right. So if someone is listening to or watching this episode on 1.5 speed, which I do, I know some people hate doing that, but if you're doing that, bring it back to normal right now so that you can actually hear the song. You can put it back to 1.5 speed after the song is over, I promise.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Yeah, good idea.
Let's see what we
Okay.
got.
Well, let me get set up here. Okay, guys, you ready for this?
Let's do it.
Here goes nothing.
In the waiting in the ache, when the road feels hard to trace, when our prayers are whispered low and the answers come in slow, in the silence of our cries, when we can't see past the night, still you hear, still you stay. You are near along the way. You are near. You have not gone. You walk with us through night and dawn. We seek your kingdom, not our own. Your you are here. Every step we do not see, still your mercy carries me. The Lord is near, He has not gone. He walks with us through night and dawn. We seek your kingdom, not our own. Your faithful love will lead us home. The Lord is near, He has not gone. He walks with us through night and dawn. We seek your kingdom, not our own. Your faithful love will lead us
Guys, I just fed the AI program the lyrics and the chords. This is the first thing it spit out to me in like 2 minutes, if that.
Oh boy.
What'd you think?
Where do you want us to start?
So
Yeah,
I
I wrote down some thoughts while I was listening.
guys, I don't know what your thoughts are, but I was so blown away just by the quality of what I got. I wasn't expecting like fully produced music. I was expecting sort of like maybe a MIDI piano with a sort of okay AI voice. That blew me away. Like, I've been working with AI for various reasons for, a year or so. I'm not usually blown away. That blew me away. I called my dad right away. He's been a musician all his life. I've been playing drums for 40 years, been in and out of studios. Like, I know what it takes to do this kind of stuff. And he said, my dad was like, well, I guess I ought to just sell all my guitars.
It's like at the beginning of the of Jurassic Park, when they were talking about what are you going to do after you don't have to dig up any more dinosaur bones? He's like, I guess we'll retire, or I guess we won't have to do it anymore. And Ian, Jeff Goldblum's character says, don't you mean extinct?
Yeah.
And like, your job is extinct now, and it's like, yeah.
So, what'd you guys think?
Dwight, you go first.
Well, that I was serious about where to start. I mean, there's a musical side to it,
Right.
and obviously there's a lyrical side to it. So I think where my brain begins is in sort of the conceptual end rather than the product end. So at the conceptual side, it's got music. It's got lyrics. The lyrics have theological content or theological implications embedded in them. The music has aesthetic reality embedded in it. The voice has cultural reality embedded in it. Any of these AI programs, and the one that you used, Scott, it's been around a while. It's not new. I have a friend in Nashville, and he's been doing AI music somewhat like this for about 2 years.
I was going to say so I used ChatGPT for the lyrics, but I used Suno AI music for music, and they came out late 2022. So
right.
Yeah.
Right. And I like his stuff. I mean, I like it. What he did was he took old poems, classics, and set them to AI, totally AI. with AI voices, different styles. And so in this software, you can tell the software, do it in X. Give me a bluegrass song, and it
Yep.
knows what a bluegrass song is.
Yep.
There's the musical side, there's the lyrical side, and I think that for me there are a whole bunch of issues in those. And then there is the, for lack of a better, there is the communal side, there is the usness side. There is a part of this that relates directly to who we are and what we do, and what we intend to do and want to do. And earlier I talked about the BIC history and engagement with technology. That has to do with who we think we are and what we intend to be or want to be. It's the usness. So I don't know which of those you want me to begin with, but that's where my brain went. My brain went immediately to the conceptual side, not to the polished product side, and partly because I've known this can be done.
Yeah.
One of the top chart gospel songs of last year was totally AI generated. Completely. In fact, the number one.
Wow.
And it not only were the lyrics AI generated, but the voice was AI generated. It was an AI generated performer. And
like
so he.
Video?
Sorry?
Like for the music video, it was an AI generated performer?
Yeah, the entire fabric of the person was not real.
Wow.
And it hit the top.
I'm really
of the
curious as to what song that was.
I'll send it. I'll give it to you later. It hit the top of the charts, and that begs a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Your dad's question is appropriate.
Yeah. However, I got to say, he thought it was the coolest thing ever, and I'm pretty sure he was playing around with it for the rest of the day.
Sure. Sure. And any techie is going to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, our tech curiosity, of course.
Yeah.
But that still begs the question. What do I do with my guitars?
Yeah, and in Suno, maybe this is a little too much, but so like you heard there was a little spot in that song that we could have done a guitar solo.
Right.
It has the capability of him recording his own guitar solo for that part, and then I can upload it into it, and it'll just integrate it. So then you have the human and the AI kind of converging there. But yeah, just craziness.
So Ryan, back to you. What do you think?
Well, I'm really curious to hear about some of your thoughts on some of the conceptual stuff. My thoughts were more the surface level, the product side. So I'll just get a quick hit some of my thoughts here, and then Dwight, I want to go back to what you were thinking. So one of the first things that hit me was that the singer sounded a lot. I think it like Carrie Job. You know her, the worship leader, worship singer, and it's probably not a coincidence. Like whoever.
Right.
I was going to say, do you guys know Martina McBride?
Yeah.
That's what I was getting the whole time. I mean, maybe Carrie Joby, but
I mean, it's modeling its voices after the most popular singers, and so you're going to get a voice that sounds like every other female voice you've heard on the popular Christian songs. So, did it sound good? Yes. It just sounded a lot like all the other worship songs I've heard that are the popular ones. Same kind of structure to the song. The production values were great. The singing was great quality. When the additional voices came in, the harmonies were tight. It just sounded like the same stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. I would have loved to have written a song that sounded this good and record a song that sounded this good. But it just sounded like all the stuff that I've heard. One thing that I did notice, though, that I thought was interesting was verse 3, the word home.
Yeah.
She sang something else entirely. It was like hate or something.
It was like she tried to sing pain, but then it didn't come out right. And it's not supposed to be that. It's supposed to be home. Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
We'll cut her a little slack.
that made it past the producers as they were doing the final mix down of the song, I guess. But
Well, yeah, and I heard it, but the problem is I don't know. I'm still like I'm barely 24 hours into experience with this kind of stuff. As soon as I hit generate, it generates a completely different song. So I don't know if I can tweak that song to make her say home, and so it keeps the integrity of what you just heard, or if I'm just going to get a completely different thing. So I left it. It's fine.
Yeah, and I think it shows part of the AI-ness of it. I think it's fine to leave it in. This isn't something we're going to be putting out there to the worship world. But I just thought it was interesting. It hit me, and I was like, "Oh, AI." So it was an AI moment for me. But yeah, so the lyrics themselves, there were a couple of lines that were actually really good. What was that one, like seeing past the night or something like that? It's like first verse or something, or second verse. In the silence of our cries, when we can't see past the night. It's very nice. And so there's a lot to be even commended about the song itself. I was impressed. I found myself impressed more with the technology than with the song, because the song itself I felt like I'd heard before. So those were some of my initial impressions. Very impressed with the technology. But yeah, Dwight, I want to hear some of your thoughts on the product.
Let me just jump onto that. I mean, I had similar kinds of thoughts about the product. And then my focus was more the music than it was the text. I zone in on the music.
Sure.
Generic. I mean, generic. It's generic. It was a generic voice. It was a generic set of chords. It was a generic melody. It was generic. You have to be sort of deep musician to know what I'm talking about here. But contemporary Christian worship songs ride the thirds. You ride the third of the one chord and you ride a third of the four chord. And if you want the minute you want it to sound sweet, you go to the third of the fourth chord. Well, that's what they did. The chorus starts out on the third of the one chord, dives down to the third of the four chord. There you go. I mean, it's predictable.
Well, and that's some of the critique that I hear of like the Big Four. So just the study from it was a worship industry snapshot study conducted between 2010, 2011, 2020 found that almost all the top 25 worship songs came from four sources: Bethel, Elevation, Hillsong, and Passion. And so, it's gonna sound like all of those, which all of those were starting to sound the same too.
Right. Right. Yeah. And every musically, it's not particularly new in a certain kind of way. I mean, there are some universals, some musical universals. Do, home. Home is home musically, and before going to home, you're not home. And so there's embedded in that all of this are music universals. There's a reason that third sounds sweet to our ears. And embedded in it is our culture. So the voice that you heard, and you guys locked into particular voices. I locked into what she was doing with her voice, and I hate to even call her a she.
I know.
I know. What it was doing with its voice, the breath. It was a very calculated breath. It's a breath that it's part of American worship, contemporary worship culture performance. The way she swoops into pitches, that's part of our musical culture. It's part of our worship musical culture, not necessarily other musical culture. So it was generic in that way. And I agree, Ryan. The reason it's generic it's going to whatever the most common thing out there is to find out what it's supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting once we hear the next song to see if you still have the same opinion, because I definitely see where you're coming from, but I also asked it to be very simple. Like it did exactly what I asked it to do. So, it's kind of a both and going on there. Like I specifically said, keep this simple, like singable, simple in a worship
Sure.
setting. Like,
Yeah, there's more you can do with a prompt for sure
Yeah.
to add some maybe musical interest or
well,
unanticipated chord changes or changes of tempo or time signature and
yeah.
like that. Sure, there are things you can do in the prompts, but this song as it is, I mean, it sounded fine. It really did. And again, blown away by the technology. But yeah, it just... then the question, and I might be getting ahead of ourselves here, but the question then is using this AI generated song better or worse, or is it even fair to use those qualifiers, than using one of the songs from the big four that it sounds just like and that it was trained on, and you get those same kind of voices, you get some good lyrics and you get some that are misses, and you get some that work in your church context and some that don't. And so is it better or worse than using songs that maybe another person wrote, but someone outside of your context, someone you don't know, you've never met before, never had a conversation with, you don't know their character, you don't know their integrity, you don't know any of this kind of thing, but they wrote a song, sounds good, the words are fine, let's do it at the church, And so is it better or worse? Like, again, I might be jumping ahead of ourselves here, but that's one of the big questions I have, is how we interact with this versus how we also interact with singer-songwriters outside of our own church contexts. And that question fascinates me. I don't know if we want to go there or if we want
Sure.
to go there later. Dwight, do you have some thoughts on that?
No, other than agreeing with you, I mean, those are some of the issues that I think go to it. And you asked about the conceptual side, who we are and want to be. This is who we are and want to be, is what you're saying. And earlier, Scott, you asked about where we've been technologically as a denomination. For a long time, what I've said about the Brethren in Christ is we're generally 20 years behind the curve. Now, that's a negative way of saying it, because that has been intentional. If in the study that I'm doing, it's been fascinating to me, and I'm going all the way back to literally 1900, to the late 1800s and 1900, and there has been an intentionality about not jumping on the newest bandwagon. That's an issue of who we are. That's an issue. It's an intentional decision to not follow fad or trend.
Mm.
And in essence, what we have said is, in our actions, we're not opposed to new things, but we're going to watch it and test it. And we're not going to jump on it because it's the newest, coolest thing.
Mm.
That has been the history of the Brethren in Christ. I'm pretty comfortable with that. I mean, as I said, I was a very early adopter of the guitar, playing the guitar before 95% of the denomination. Very early adopter of the repertory. I don't know that. Well, I have to be honest. I think I probably did jump on it because it was cool. But I was slowed down by the community around me.
Yeah.
The tambourine story.
Mm-hmm.
They slowed me down. And they slowed me down, I think, because of that intent that let's test it. Let's see. And then for me, AI is in the same ballgame. It's cool, and if you're a techie, of course you're going to be drawn to it. Of course you're going to think, wow, that's really amazing.
Yeah.
But there's an identity side to it, and so yeah, I agree with much of what you said, Ryan. In short.
Well, it's I would even say I don't even know what I was saying. To be honest, I'm question. I don't know what I think, and I wonder, Dwight, to your statement about kind of being about 20 years behind the curve to state it negatively, but to state it positively, being intentional about the decisions and not jumping on the latest bandwagon. I wonder. Because I remember some of the conversations in my church growing up around drums. So we had these two like cubbies off to the side of the main stage. One had a piano in it, one had an organ in it. The organ we stopped using just because we lost our organ player. And then after many, many years, we moved the organ out and we put a drum set in there. And that was big to replace the organ with a drum set. And the drum set sat there for a little over a year before anyone used it, just to get people used to the idea that there was a drum set in the church.
Oh my goodness.
And then, as we, and would it have been as long if we actually had a drummer in our building? Maybe not have been as long, but it was an intentional decision to let it be there for a little while. Then we had a band and the drums and all that stuff, and the church started, playing that kind of music. That would require drums, but it wasn't so much of an intentional decision to hold off and let's be intentional and let's test this and stuff. It was a hesitancy born out of fear because people were going to be mad. And so I wonder if some of the, after 20 years, some of the people who would have been mad were either gone or died off. I don't know. And then we were able to continue to integrate, not integrate, innovate a little bit more and adopt newer things. So I wonder how much of that was like, I know
when I say intentionality, though, that's you're saying hesitation because somebody might be mad. That's intentionality.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, what you're saying is you're being sensitive to the group.
Yeah, I suppose that's the positive way of saying it. Yeah.
Well, what I'm saying is that's what I see in the history.
Yeah.
S.R. Smith, one example, just one example. S.R. Smith in early 1900s desperately wanted a new hymnal with notes.
Right.
The previous hymnal had no notes. He thought we need notes. He liked music. He loved music. So he wanted a hymnal with new notes. And took it to the General Conference, and the General Conference said no. And he obeyed.
Yeah.
He waited. He waited until the community was ready. He made an intentional decision. And you can tell in what he says, he didn't do that in anger. It was a genuine recognition of his place in the community and a genuine recognition on his part of the will of the community. So when you talk about not doing something because it might make somebody angry, to me, that's an intentional act. We are being sensitive to that, as opposed to that coolness that I felt. Some of us like to break. We like to break the boundaries. We find it's exciting. It's fun. But that's a very individualistic thing.
Yeah.
So when I say intent, that's what I mean by intentional. I don't mean it was we sit down and decide it. It's decided de facto.
Okay. That's interesting. Okay. So
you had another song.
Well, yeah. Hold on. I think Ryan has some stuff before we get there.
I was just wondering where we wanted to go from here. Like, we can go to that second song, or we can go to some other questions or thoughts about some of this stuff.
Well, we can. We can, and I can set you up here because the second song is very different. We could even say maybe it's very different in intentionality. Here's why: because I wrote 100% of the words. So ChatGPT did not write the words you're going to hear. It very much comes from not just last Sunday's sermon, but from my own experiences. It's very personal. It's about grief. It's a song of lament, and really healing. And I don't know if you know that both Ryan and I, our families went through some real trauma last year. And so this song comes out of that. And when I fed it to the AI program to give me some music with it, didn't come back in the way that I envisioned. So 26 attempts later, with no joke, with crafting the prompt to make it just right, it finally got it, and I was like, this is it.
Wow.
Honestly, guys, if the worship team is able to do it, I think this could be super meaningful. Again, the difference though is these are my words, whereas the previous song was ChatGPT's words, influenced by my sermons. So
right.
All right. So you want to go there, or you?
Let's do it. Okay. With that intro, we got to listen.
I'd like to hear it. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, give me a second. So I actually have like a YouTube. I made a YouTube video of it today, so it'll have lyrics on there for you.
Oh, a lyric video.
Yes. Yeah. So.
Wow.
All right. Here, give me a second.
Yeah.
All right. Can you guys see that?
We can.
Okay.
Yep. Another encouragement to check us out on YouTube.
Yes.
You can watch this video on the YouTube channel.
Yes. So this song's called "Help Me to Move." As I said, it's a song of lament and hope. So here goes nothing.
When the night's been long and the weight remains, after the battle, nothing stays the same. But you were with me in the storm, you were faithful all along. Now I press on in your presence, but still unsure of what's to come. And so I pray, Lord, help me to move, help me to move, help me to persevere in the unknown. Lord, I'm waiting on you, I'm waiting on you. Help me to trust in your faithfulness, so I can press on. Lord, help me to move. Help me to move. Help me to persevere in the unknown. Lord, I'm waiting on you. I'm waiting on you. Help me to know that I'm not alone. Lord, help me to move. Help me to move. Help me to persevere in the unknown. Lord, I'm waiting on you. I'm waiting on you. Help me to know that I'm not alone. Lord, help me to move. Help me to
So I found that song infinitely more moving than the previous one. And I'm trying to figure out if it's because I knew you wrote that and because I knew your context. Because in that same study that I had talked about before, that it said, almost all the top 25 songs were written by the same four groups. It said there was one person that people trusted as a source of worship music more so than those four groups, and that was Phil Wickham. And the article didn't say that I was looking at, didn't venture a guess as to why. They're like, we're not sure why Phil Wickham is the more trusted, but he is. I would venture to guess one of the things I keep hearing about Phil Wickham is the difficulties in his life. He has experienced loss as well, and he writes from that. And I think people inherently trust when something comes from deep inside. And I feel like there's something moving about that, honest about that, filled with integrity about that. And I think that's why he's not necessarily, some songs are a little more generic than others from Phil Wickham, but a lot of Phil Wickham's stuff comes from very deep places, a deep well, so to speak. And I wonder if that's why we trust him a little bit more than these four groups, which are just cranking out hit after worship hit, And I wonder if, and I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing, I'm just wondering if the reason why I'm feeling differently about that song is because I know you, I know your loss from this year, and I know the context, and I know that you wrote those lyrics. So it's an observation from the peanut gallery here. Dwight?
Yeah. For me, the lyrics are stronger than the music. Musically, it's generic. It does musically. It does exactly the same things. Rides the thirds, and so it's predictable musically.
Sure.
And lyrically, it's different. And I would agree with it, Ryan. The personal connection clearly is an important element, and in who we are. This idea that I put forward before: who do we want to be? Who we are. One of the changes in technology during my lifetime has been the shift from, if you will, corporate art making to cottage art making. And so, whether it's a book or whatever it is, we don't need the big studios anymore. We could, Scott, you churned out a high product wise, you churned it out yourself.
Yep. Yep.
Took 26 prompts, but you did it. Yeah,
that's right.
Go back 50 years And in central Pennsylvania, you had to go over to Mechanicsburg to a studio and pay big bucks for studio time to crank something. You don't have to do that anymore.
Oh, I grew up, my dad had his own music studio. So I grew up with my drums out there in his studio. We'd spend all day just trying to get the kick drum to sound right. All day. It's probably the reason why I went into ministry and not music. Sorry, Dad. But
well, it says something about the nature of what we can produce and how much we can produce and what its use is going to be.
Yeah.
It's who we are. Mm-hmm. So it means, for example, in this case, you can produce that short-lived, highly personal product. And it can have a short-lived, highly focused congregational use. Mm. That's different. Mm-hmm. So, earlier on, I think you said, the good, the bad. It's good and bad. But it does go to who we are, who we want to be, I think. I thought your lyrics were stronger. I thought the music was, same old, same old.
Yeah, and I would expect that from a musician, because that's been my complaint with contemporary Christian music for years. As a drummer, I'm like, man, anybody could do this, like, okay, But at the same time, I think, is it usable? Could a worship team learn that song right now, and actually would it be meaningful to them? I think so. I think sometimes, like, man, I'll tell you what, I went from young and, like, I'm still, I guess, young, but you know what I mean? Teenage drummer me, who was just annoyed at how simple the songs were, standing in church, listening or playing, literally just annoyed at how, oh, this is so boring, right? And over the years, I've just grown to be like, no, it's not even about that. It's about the message. It's about the togetherness of worshiping the Lord. How's that boring, right? So, and it kind of is what you make it. Like, if you want to play beat for beat, that's on you. I don't do that. I would never play that beat for beat. So that's kind of where I was thinking with this kind of tool. If you use it right, I think it could be interesting. Like what you guys heard, in my mind, wouldn't be the final product. The next step would be, let's go to some actual musicians and let's
I guess that that's part of what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
Several things. One, short-lived and long-lived, that's been around forever. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's been around long enough that that's not the issue. And simple, complex, that's been around, and it's everywhere. It's universal. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, beauty and not beautiful. Your lyrics have more beauty to them. Mm. That's why. Yes, Ryan is saying he's drawn to it because of your story, but there is more beauty in it. And so when you get generic, you're losing some of the beauty. And I'm convinced, as a musician, people feel that. Yeah, they know that. And the songs that last the longest generally are the ones that are more interesting. They're more beautiful. Those are the ones that stick in people's. They last. So you get a combination of really strong lyrics, really strong music. You've got something that it's not only going to last for that short moment. It's got a wider use, a wider spread, and a wider impact. So yeah, give it to musicians, of course, but yeah, those are my thoughts as I was listening.
I think I completely agree in that, like, the difference between the first song we listened to and the second song, the first song, yeah, it was definitely more generic. I don't even think it quoted scripture at all, right? Whereas the second song, we had scripture all over it. James chapter 1, verses 2 to 4. It had Philippians 3 in there. It had a little bit of the Lord's Prayer in there, and like all these, I happen to know that because that's what I was thinking about. But it had all of these, like, it's just neat. It's like a prayer, but yet put to music. And I couldn't have done that myself. I would have had to go to other musicians and be like,
Sure.
can you help me out here? I could play whatever beat you want me to all day, but there's just kind of a neat experiment to like, okay, well, let's see what this AI can do. Let's see. But yeah, I think Ryan, you're right. The reason why the second song connected more is because obviously my story. But also even people that don't know it, I think they would sense, oh, that sounds familiar. That sounds like James chapter 1. That sounds like, you know what I mean? Pressing on, that's Philippians 3 verse 12. Like, so yeah.
Yeah.
The short-term, short-lived, focused purpose, that whole idea. I mean, Fanny Crosby, Blessed Assurance, wrote 8,000 songs. 8,000. Now, she only wrote the lyrics. She never wrote the music. So she collaborated with some of the best songwriters of the time, Christian songwriters of the time. But she wrote 8,000, for heaven's sakes. We don't even sing 100 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We don't even know 50 of them.
Yeah.
Meaning, for the AI, I think it's quite okay for AI to generate something that has the short-term, focused, ephemeral purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Even a one Sunday one-off. But that's not the same as a song that has rich beauty in it, whether that's richness is in the text or whether the richness is in the music. And I think you're right, Ryan. Prompting certainly can help with that. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember back when I was, I used to lead worship at my church back in New York. I did it for about 12 years. And I wrote a good number of the songs that we did at that church. Probably, maybe almost a quarter of our repertoire was songs that I wrote. I went back recently and looked through those, and they were varying degrees of passability. They were very kind in letting me write and then sing those songs. We'll just say that. A couple were not so bad, but like really only a couple. Like it was, right. But then I also, during that time period, we had our office was in a storefront facility, and we made it like a community arts center. And one of the things we did in there was like a songwriters workshop. And so we'd meet once a week and with just a bunch of other songwriters from New York, not even necessarily Christian or whatever. And we did these songwriters workshops, and then we put on a concert at the end, and the money would go towards a charity, money raised from the concert at the end. And I remember bringing some of my songs, not the worship songs that I was writing for the church, just other songs that I was writing, silly songs, love songs, whatever. And we'd play them for each other and give them feedback, give each other feedback, and bring it in the next week and see how we'd tinkered with it and stuff like that. And sometimes someone would be like singing along with it or whatever, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, dude, do that again. Like that was an incredible harmony, or that descant was like friggin' amazing and stuff like that. And then and it just kind of like built. And so by the end, not only these were singer-songwriters that I'd never met. I was running these things, even though I wasn't the best singer-songwriter, I was just willing to lead it. These were people I'd never met until we started the songwriting workshop. But by the end, after like a month and a half or something, we were so tight. We were such good friends. We loved each other's music. We knew the songs. We were singing with each other and just having a blast because we weren't just like making music together. Like we were getting to know each other and like we were having such a fun experience together. And I think about that experience. The songs I was writing for my church, I was writing mostly by myself. And it would have taken a lot longer and would have been a lot harder to write songs in community. As I did with the songwriters things, but all those songs ended up better than any of the songs I wrote for the church. It's just unfortunate, but here we are. But through that process, I also learned that lesson. You know, like when we do stuff like this, like, you know, you went through and you did 26 different prompts. You just kept cranking at it. That's great. But like, I don't know, I feel like we lose the gift of failure when we let someone else write all of our stuff. And maybe that's also including not just AI, but just grabbing music from all other people, other sources as well, human or not. You know, when we're not trying stuff and doing okay at it or passable at it, we lose this gift of failure that helps us grow, that helps us do better next time. And maybe that question moot now? Do we have to even grow creatively and all that kind of stuff? You know, like it's just these are the kinds of things that come into my mind.
But I think it's an unnecessary either or. So like, why can't it be both? You know, why can't we use the AI as a tool? Let me give you another illustration.
Yeah.
So a very similar argument among us drummers is electronic drums versus acoustic drums.
Yeah.
And yeah, you got people that are diehard either way, arguing in the forums, like it gets nasty. And I'm over here like, I've had both of them and I like both for different purposes. Sure, it's arguably not as fun to play even the top of the line, you know, $6,000 electronic drum set. It's not as fun. It doesn't quite feel like the real thing. However, I wouldn't want to only play that unless I was like living in an apartment and that was my only option. Mm-hmm. However, both is pretty cool. I can get behind that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so and coming at it from a different perspective here. So like as a drummer of 40 years, I've always I've been involved in several bands. I know what you're talking about when it comes to like being in the process of writing original songs, and it's a lot of fun. You do learn a lot from other people, and often the best things happen by mistake, which is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. But as a drummer, I've been always tied down to what the guitar player wanted to do or what the singer wanted to do. It's like, no, can you do a little bit of this instead of what you're doing right there? And I'm like, no, because it's not as interesting. But so you got to let a lot of that go as a drummer because you're just the guy in the back. You know, it's just the drummer. But as the drummer, I've always been like, man, if I had a tool that I could like create my own music, that would be so awesome. This tool with the AI that we just used yesterday, that's the closest I've ever come to that. It's still not what I would love. Like I would love to get into the nitty gritty and tell it like, no, I want you to accent on the E of 3 right there. And I want you to modulate, whatever. Like I want to be able to do all the little tweaks without having to learn guitar over 20 years and stuff. And you know what I mean? Like that would be cool.
Thing. That's why I started learning guitar was because I learned how to play trombone when I was in high school. I was like, it was the height of popularity.
Hey.
So I learned how to play trombone and that was great. And then when I got to college, I learned how to do some hand percussion, play the bass guitar, but I couldn't like do anything. My main instrument was my voice. I love to sing. And so, but I wanted something that would accompany me in my singing. And so, I started learning guitar for that purpose. I plateaued pretty quickly. I'm not an amazing guitarist, but now I can play something that supports my voice, which is like my real instrument.
Yeah.
But would my kids, if my kids listen to this episode, are my kids going to want to learn an instrument, or are they going to want a subscription to whatever that program was that you used?
Suno.
Yeah, Suno. Yeah.
Yeah, Suno. Like, I don't know. One of my kids is already playing drums. He's getting pretty good at it, and I'm very thankful for that. Maybe it's part of building an ethos in our children before we expose them to these AI tools or something. I don't know.
You're touching on, though, Ryan, and you as well, Scott, in your guy in the back. I know exactly what you're meaning, and I'm telling you, Scott, I would have loved a guy like you in the back. I generally asked for too much of that extra stuff, but relationship, who we are, who we want to be, and who we are. AI has the potential to erode or undermine or diminish. We will lose something. Every technology gives us a gain and it gives us a loss. And one of the losses that we could have is exactly what Ryan is touching on. We lose relationship. We lose your dad and his guitars. What do I do with my guitar? You keep playing.
Oh, and he will 100%.
Yeah.
You keep playing. Yeah, well, I can't play as good as that AI. That's not.
Oh,
the
he
point.
can.
But that's not the point.
Yeah.
That's not the point. And so, as a church, as a congregation, as a body of believers, we haven't even talked about, and it's not on the horizon. This is here now. You're talking about generating songs. AI performers. It's here now.
Yeah.
Where a congregation says, "Oh, we don't have a bass player. Okay, let's train AI to be our bass player." Meaning what? Meaning that 12-year-old kid down in the pew is not going to learn to play the bass because we got a better AI player. Who we are. Who do we want to be? I'm opting for the kid in the front row. I'll sacrifice the technology for the sake of that adolescent musician who for sure they're going to screw it up. We know that. And yes, that's going to annoy some people. I don't care.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
I want that kid. So, the loss there, the danger, one of the dangers is it's a relational danger. We've talked about sort of the product side and the aesthetic side, but there is a relational component here. And I would plead for us to just be smart.
Yeah.
Adopt that brethren in Christ. Let's not rush to it because it's cool technology, because we could be throwing away some things that we don't really want to throw away.
Yeah. I just come back to it like we did in our previous AI episode. Just it's a tool, it's
I
not,
hear that. I hear
not
you,
the
Scott.
end all.
I hear that, but I don't agree with that. This is not a tool in the nature of some previous tools. This is a tool akin to the printing press, where it's a different magnitude of tool. This is not a tool like, you gave the illustration of the electronic drum set. Not the same. This is a shift of a greater magnitude, in my opinion.
I think the emphasis is on the phrase generative AI. I think the emphasis is on generative here because most technology we've had before has helped us do us things faster or more efficiently or whatever. This is removing us from a number of steps, like entirely, creatively, musically, process wise, all that kind of stuff. Again, not to say that it can't have its uses. I do use AI for a number of things, but yeah, like you were saying, Dwight, there's every yes has a no that comes along with it. So saying yes to AI for doing something, it brings a no in another capacity, and it's trying to use wisdom to figure out, okay, when are the stakes low enough that that's fine, and when are the stakes raised enough where we want to say, you know what, the convenience isn't worth it. The value is in the process. The value is in whatever. So
I think one of the dangers is when AI, like when you're just, now we're getting into generalities, but a danger is like, you know, I use it and now I depend on it. Like I have to have it. You know, it's like anything, you know, if you're using something with wisdom, it's just how you use it. The motivation behind it, I think, can throw you one way or the other. And at the end of the day, as a musician, I don't need AI. I just think it's fun, right? I can go out and find people and we can record something and it'd be awesome. But you know, when I say just using it as a tool, like I think it'd be interesting to take this second song that you heard to our worship team and let's see what we do with it. Let's see what happens, because then you're bringing in the community into it, and you know, and it is obviously, you know, it's very personal because of the lyrics for sure. But
you know, but to that point, yes, you can join other musicians and make your own music. You don't need AI. But in like, as the adoption of this technology becomes more and more ubiquitous, in 20 years, will we have enough drummers to call up and say, hey, I need a drummer for a band. I want to do it, you know, like, are we going to lose, you know, like when the use of corporate hymnals went out a lot more. We had people less able to read music and read harmonies and sing harmonies, find harmonies and read music than we have now. Because we've gone to a band from up front singing and everyone just sings the melody thing. So again, and people can say whether that was worth it or not, whether it's fine, whether people care or not, that argument, but it is one thing that was lost from, you know, moving from hymnals to things. So with the adoption of this technology, there will be things that we lose. And some of them we can anticipate, and others I think we're only going to find out in 15 years, be like, oh, that was what we were doing.
Or less, like 5 years.
Right, yeah.
3 years.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, you know, and don't misunderstand me, AI is here to stay. I mean, you're spitting in the wind to say, well, we're never going to use AI. I mean, that's just, people that say that are fooling themselves. Of course they are. And so that's not my point. When I say, don't misunderstand my comments as being this stick in the mud in the past, living in the past. That's not what I'm saying. I do think it is a tool of a different sort. And I do think it's more akin to the drastic change that happened with the printing press, some of which was good and some of which was not altogether good. We became more dependent on the written word as a result of the printing press. That means we lost some of the ability to do oral stuff. Beowulf was not a written document. It was an oral thing. We diminished our ability to communicate artistically in that kind of oral way. And so AI will do stuff like that. We will lose some stuff. And my biggest fear is the relational side. And Ryan, you're touching on the atrophy side, which I think is also, you know, it's the relational side when I talk about the 12-year-old in the front row, we won't have that bass player. But for me, I want to cultivate in our worship music. I would like to cultivate a people who they can actually do music. They can do it, and they can inspire each other by the way they do it. So, anyway.
Well, gosh, guys, this. I think we're going to have to call it a day here. We're running a little over our time. There are so many things. I've got like so many more notes here. Maybe we can pick up like a part B conversation some other time.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Dwight, thank you so much for taking some time and giving us your honest thoughts. This is one of those things that I don't think anyone, regardless of how we feel about AI and all this sort of thing, no one should go into it without intentionality, without thought. And so I think it's really, really helpful, regardless of where people fall on the spectrum of AI adoption. I hope it helps people think about it at least before hitting go or whatever. So that's my hope. That is my prayer. Guys, thank you so much for the conversation. This was so helpful for me. Scott, thanks for sharing those songs.
Yeah.
That was really fascinating to me. Really interesting. But
and thank you all. Thank you both for allowing me to intrude on your session here. And yes, Scott, thanks for the work that you did on those. And please don't take my comments about them as harsh criticism. I don't mean them that way.
No, thank you. Yeah, no, there's a lot of wisdom there. So
Hey.
thank you.
Yeah, it's good to have these conversations. So everyone, thanks so much for joining us on this month's BIC Life podcast. Hey, if you have questions for us, please, or there's something about AI that we didn't talk about or we didn't think about or we didn't have time for, hit us up at biclifepodcast@gmail.com. That's biclifepodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you and love to take any questions we have. If you'd like to reach out to Dwight Thomas about any of the things he said or have questions for him, you can also email him. Dwight, how can people reach out to you?
Dwight W. Thomas at yahoo.com.
Dwight W. Thomas at yahoo.com. Perfect. All right. Well, hey, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us, and we will catch you on next month's BIC Life podcast. Until then, take care, everyone, and use AI responsibly. See you next time.
See ya. Hey, thanks so much for hanging out with us today. If you've been encouraged by this episode, don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons and help us grow our podcast by sharing it with people that you know. We'd also love to hear your thoughts about today's episode or really any topic that you'd like us to talk about. Just send us an email at biclifepodcast@gmail.com. And if you'd like to help us continue making content like this, head over to our website, biclifepodcast.com, and just click on that Support Us tab. Thanks again for listening, and we will catch you next time.